G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the south side of the map in the colour blue, playing as the Abbasid dynasty, we've got Starflark. And on the north side of the map, in the colour pink, playing as the English, we got Kaup. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Altai. It's rare that we cast this map, but when we do, these games are often absolute bangers. So I'm sure this one's going to be an absolute banger as well. For anybody who doesn't know Kaup, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and quite frankly, at this point, I've just given up trying. But for those who don't know him, he streams over on Twitch. I'll leave a link in the description where you can go and watch him live. He is a very solid player. Conqueror 3, I think about Conqueror 3, like 200 points above Conqueror 3. So about 1,800 at the moment. He's pretty damn good. Starflark, I don't know if he streams. Not too familiar with him, but an equally good player, this guy. I think he's sitting in the top 100 at the moment, so pretty damn good player. I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got, because we've got an interesting matchup. Abbasid versus English. English, a civilization that on this map excels, except when you consider the fact they're up against the Abbasid dynasty. And normally I wouldn't say that, but there's trade. There's trade. And trade is the flavor of the week, flavor of the month, flavor of the patch, flavor of the season. It is, I feel like I've opened up a bag of chips, and instead of getting barbecue flavored chips, I got trade flavored chips, because it is just French fries. Even the French are trading at the moment. There's a lot of trade. There's a huge amount of trade. But to be honest, I kind of enjoy it. I do like it. I think that it still needs a little bit of balancing, but we have seen interesting styles that help prevent trade, or not that help prevent trade, but that can actually combat trade. I think on a map like Altai, trade is a little bit more difficult to shut down, just simply because you've only really got 3 passages where you can go through. You've got this southern passage where you can look to extinguish it. On the north side, you can extinguish it, and then, of course, through the middle. But that is, it makes it harder, right? It makes it a lot harder, because there's a lot of natural walling that can be done through walling to the mountains. So that's one thing to note. For anybody who's interested, though, as we segue into our 2-minute sponsor right here, if you're interested in some coaching, make sure you check out the Patreon. There's plenty of exclusive coaching content over there on Patreon. Lots of good stuff, so go check it out, see if you might find something that you like, and other than that, let's get back to it. So the age ups are coming through, Council Hall going down, Economic Wing over on the other side of the map, which is a bit interesting. I don't think I expected the Economic Wing to come out. I think with the strength of trade at the moment, I kind of expected it to be the Trade Wing, but it's comforting to see that the Economic Wing is not dead, at least not yet. Also, I guess the alternative is there's also the Culture Wing. This is what I love about the changes to the landmarks. Like, I've got to take my hats off to the developers in this matter. They made all of the wings viable. All of the wings are viable right now. We have seen every single wing used at the top level. We've seen sort of utilizing the Culture Wing to go into a fast castle against the Holy Roman Empire. We've seen the Trade Wing. We see it all the time. We see the Economic Wing. We see that all the time. We've seen the Military Wing used against the Ottomans to shut down their aggression in the early Dark Age. So there's lots of different ways that you can use the wing. So hats off to the devs for doing it. And let's ride on board now with Starflark. See exactly what he's up to as he begins working towards what I would suspect is a second town center. Now, what's interesting to note is that by going for his upgrades before he goes for his town center, he's actually losing out in the long run. Loses out about the equivalent of 2 villages. I saw the math. I saw the math on Reddit. Don't worry. Calm down, guys. It was on Reddit. If it's on Reddit, it has to be true. It's just like the internet. It has to be true. But it checks out. I double-checked it. It checks out. So basically, the theory goes that if you're spending all of your resources here right now on upgrades and not on a town center, your town center could have been working for a lot longer creating villages. And those villages, they are a linear growth. Whereas these upgrades, you can just add them in at any time. You don't need to. They're not limited by anything. So in that regard, yeah, it makes sense. But the age up does come through. Starflark reaching the feudal age at 4 minutes, 12 seconds, and 5 seconds behind him. On the other side of the map, Corp going to be doing the same thing. Just 2 villages on gold. This is always an indication that, hey, I'm probably just going to be playing 1 base. So you can know what to expect. And we can see that Starflark just moving past, trying to get an idea. And look at this. Look at the tactical longbow usage here. Just shutting down all these deer, saying, hey, get out of here, boys. And girls, all you deer out there, get out of here. We're gonna shut you down. And I like that. It makes a lot of sense. It just reduces the time that your villagers are going to be over here killing the deer, and they can get straight to work on it. So really nice play there from him. All right, well, we'll come back to Kaup shortly. We'll check in on the other side of the map as Starflark has dropped the first stable down. We start to see more and more production buildings coming through. He's currently sitting on 8 out of 10. This is going to take him to 9 out of 10, and that'll take him to 10 out of 10. So he will hit that golden age tier 1. A little bit, I'd say a little bit late. Sometimes you can see, when people are playing one base like this, you can see it pretty early on. But it makes sense. And you can see he added in the extra house there, cancels it because he realized he didn't need it for the golden age. So very smart moves there by him. But good timing though. 5 minutes, not a bad time at all. And the horseman is out. Of course, horseman could be working. It's magic against enemy longbows. The one thing to note is that you're playing from the pocket against these longbows. There's not really an option to flank them. I mean, when you come out and look at this is pretty open, right? Like you could flank on something like this. But for the English player, it's likely that they've got pretty much all of this area on lockdown with line of sight. He's obviously got the scout still out. So it's going to be hard to find a flank for him. Meanwhile, we still don't see any trade, so he's very much committing to the economic wing here. And the first of the town centers does come down. Of course, he's picked up his Fertile Crescent, which reduces the cost of the town centers down. And putting this TC so far away on the gold, to me, is an indicator that he's only planning on playing 2 TCs. That's it, or at least for now. You know, you can always trickle a couple more vills out there a little bit later when no one's looking. With the second town center going down, that gives Corp a bit of a window right now to go into siege engineering. So we can see that +1's coming through on his ranged attack. So just going to be looking for those balanced, or rather steeled arrows. I always get it mixed up. Balanced projectiles, steeled arrows. I don't know why. I don't know why. It just doesn't stick in the brain. But there's definitely an opportunity right here for Kalp to look to push and to punish. Whether he's going to do that or not is a different matter, but you would suspect he probably is. We're right on board with him as he looks to pick up a few extra upgrades. Of course, siege engineering still a little bit off. Up to 80 gold at the moment. Needs 125. Just going to continue adding in longbows. And from here, Starflark should be able to defend this as long as he just goes full horseman. And one of the keys here for Starflark is that he ideally wants to get out with the scout, and he needs to find out, is my enemy making spears? Because if my enemy is making spears, I want to make sure that I've got archers to deal with those. Now, he doesn't want to go into camel archers. He wants to go into archers specifically because camel archers will get picked off by the large masses of longbows. And they've got a little bit of a shorter range, so it just makes sense to be going into those archers rather than the camel archers. But the wall going to come out. I'll tell you what, I don't like this. If you were going to build it, you probably wanted a few more villagers than just the one. And he's just going to do a quick little block. But this one, that's going to go down. I mean, 12 shots, he'll just shoot straight through it. He can push right up to it. The scout can take this one out. And he's just going to respect it. A little bit wild. Interesting. I guess he's not really looking that keenly to push in. Obviously, he's already spotted out the second TC. Longbow's going to continue pushing across. And one thing to note is that there's not really an avenue here for an interception of reinforcements. Normally, you would expect to see a way to do that. But, I mean, you could probably sneak around the back like this. But with your enemy having the scout here on the front side, keeping track of your forces, just doesn't really seem possible. But now, Cap going to push through. Starflark falling back. Needs to be defensive here. He's up to 7 horsemen. Added in a second stable. He's looking for +1. Needs to get that range timer. Now going to push out. Not the right decision here from Starflark. These horsemen, I can't help but feel like these guys are going to get absolutely ripped apart by the longbows. And that's exactly the case here as 3 longbows go down. Or rather, 3 horsemen go down. That's going to be the 4th one. So definitely a mistake right there from Starflark. Did not hold when he should have held. You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. And that was definitely the point where you wanted to hold them. Now we see the villagers going down. So that's going to be 3 vills. So already Kalp, he's moving out to a nice early lead. Is siege engineering through? We'll double check on the blacksmith. Indeed it is. No real surprises there. This is Corp's bread and butter. This is exactly how I've seen him play on his stream whenever he's streaming over on Twitch. This is exactly how it goes down. He loves to play this style of one base English. Go for that early battering ram. He loves to put on the pressure. He's very, very good at this. And honestly, if I was to go through and watch Corp from a coaching perspective, I guarantee you I couldn't find a single flaw with what he's doing. Like, I guarantee you every single thing, even the base building is just so on point, right? Like, all of the production is towards the wood line. He's putting the houses in the spots where the lumber camps are missing out, so he's not missing a single pixel of base space. Every single piece of this base is being used. And you might be thinking, well, Drongo, that's not really that important. No, it's incredibly important on Altai because you have such limited space on this map to be building your base. So really, really well played by Cal. This is so far just a perfect opening. But the question's going to be whether that perfect opening is going to be the right call against 2 Town Center Abbasid. Because at this point, Starflark, the defense, it's not looking the best. Kalp's definitely, from my perspective, it looks like he's doing everything right. The numbers here looking really good. 26 longbowmen. Villager goes down. That's 4 villager kills. He's still got a 3-vil lead here. Needs to be careful, though. These villagers are on the wrong side of the wall, or rather the right side of the wall, but it's only going to be a matter of time until these longbows get some line of sight. More and more cavalry units going to be coming out, and it looks like he's going to be committing once here. Longbows up against their arch nemesis, the horsemen. +1's definitely come through. You can see it's a little bit more difficult to take them down. And hold on a minute. He might have the numbers here. Horseman numbers are actually looking decent. Vil's getting pulled to deal with the battering rams. This is really key right now because it means that even if all the horsemen go down, the villagers will not die simply because the longbows are too preoccupied with the horsemen. But it's not going to matter. Look at that. You want to go mass? You want to go mass longbows against me? I'm just going to go mass horsemen and push you back like that. Very well played there. I'm genuinely impressed at that. That was a tough hold, but it was beautiful micro coming through from Starflak. That was perfectly held. I was really concerned the fact that he was down 3 horsemen. You wouldn't think it would matter, but I promise you it does, because you've got to think about the way that those 3 horsemen add to the top, right? Like, that attack right there, I don't know how many horsemen we had. Let's say 14 horsemen. The first one dies you down to 13. The second one dies you down to 12. The reason why those extra 3 horsemen make a difference is because instead of being at 14, you're up at 17. So it means that you've got more horsemen to die, and it means that your horsemen are dealing more damage before they die. So it's really important that you try and keep every single one of them alive right until you need to go. And that was just perfect timing right there against Kalp's forces. And obviously, we can see that +1 has come through both attack and defense here. So Kalp heading back to the base with his head in his hands. And I think at this point, where does he go from here? I feel like you can't commit now that you've lost. So not only have you lost your advantage in the early game, but you've kind of lost your tempo now. So I feel like you can't commit to playing Feudal Age. And you can see the longbows right there, the movement speed drop there, just simply because the scout was queued up with them. It's a real frustrating thing, but does a nice little job here, pushing him back. Even though he loses units, Starflak pushes back the enemy away from this front. So from the perspective of Starflak, all he needs to do right now is just make units, and he wins the game because he's got the second town center, right? Like that's how this works. So as long as he's making units, he will just win the game here because he's got the second TC. He's scaling, whereas his enemy's not. His enemy's on 1 TC. Now, he needs to keep tabs on his enemy, though, and make sure that he's not going for more than 1 TC, or he's not looking for an age up. And look at this, 5 stables coming in. I mean, we're doing a longbow-only challenge right now, and you're meeting it with mass horsemen. I gotta be honest with you, though. The longbows put up a pretty decent fight, considering they're meant to be hard countered by the horsemen. I mean, and these horsemen these guys have been buffed. Do you remember the good old days when horsemen had 0 ranged armor? Do you remember that? They actually had like a default of 0 ranged armor. They were crazy days. And back then, the horseman was actually overpowered. But obviously, they nerfed the horseman and they forgot to give it armor. And then, well, not forgot to give it armor, but just hadn't given it armor yet, and it was very, very weak. And then they gave it armor, and all of a sudden, it's back. I think it's in a pretty good spot at the moment. Oh my god, that's a castle age through. It's going to be a culture wing. Initially went for the military wing, but switch it up to the culture wing. I wonder why he's going into culture wing right now. What's the difference that culture wing adds in this situation? Because, I mean, it's mainly just preservation of knowledge, right? Like, he's just looking for an imperial age. I think that's it. The problem that he's going to have, okay, is at this point, all Starflak needs to do is just keep making horsemen, non-stop horsemen. He goes castle, gets +2 ranged armor, gets veterancy on his horsemen, and he just demolishes Kalp right now. The wild thing to me is that Kalp is still just going mass longbow. Like, he's not even interested in making spearmen. It just complete and utter craziness from the English player. But the defense is solid right now for Starflak. Just when you thought it was getting a bit out of hand, he obviously came in and swooped in, saved the day. Now Kalp looking to go again. The timing here could be good. Keep in mind, a lot of resources have been spent on this age up. Resources that could have been spent on units. Resources that were not spent on units. And we're talking a lot of resources, right? Like you're 1,200 food. That's 12 horsemen that could be out right now. And in fact, you can see that. Where is the wood right now for Starflak? He's got no wood. He's only got a handful of vills down here on the south side. He's walling up the edge. He needs to have like... There needs to be five horsemen in queue right now. What's going on right here? This is not good. This is not good. He's up to 46 Oh, God. Okay. Remember how I said all that Starflak needs to do is make units and he's going to be okay. The other option that he could go for, a little bit more risky, if he's got men at arms, No, he doesn't. He's going for a 6 stable. Just make a mangonel. But he doesn't have the wood, though. That's the thing. Preservation of knowledge comes through. Okay. This is going to delay all of his subsequent techs by 30 seconds. Honestly, I'd just be clicking +2 right now. It's imperative that this upgrade comes through. It's an expensive upgrade. And gee, the macro is just a little bit off right now. So many fills here. What? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. All of these... this whole time he's had so many... so much opportunity to just keep making... Oh, okay. Never mind. Where did they come from? I didn't even see them in queue. 7 Lancers. Don't mind if I do. Okay, at this point, Culp's got to be thinking, like, maybe Spears could be good. Does he just drop down... I want to see, like, four Raxes drop down in response to this. A wall. Palings. Anything. Because now you got a problem. +2's coming through. And now Cal going to be looking for the defense. Knight's coming through, still dishing out a lot of damage on that first Knight. Second Knight also taken a fair bit of damage. He's doing a great job of microing back. Needs to focus down the Horsemen, though. That's the key factor here. Horsemen do a lot more damage than those Knights do per capita, per cost, per unit. So he keeps falling back. Numbers actually not looking terrible for Cal. What the hell? How is he doing this? This micro is impressive. He's got that network of Citadels bonus, or network of Castles bonus that's helping him out. And he's slowly picking off all of the cavalry units. This is crazy talk. Once that +2 ranged armor comes through, it's going to be a different game, though. I can guarantee you that's going to be the break point. That's the part that hurts the most. When that extra second ranged armor comes through, what's going to happen there is you're actually losing half your damage that you're doing, or your effective damage. So right now, Corp is doing 7 damage from his longbows. The enemy Lancers have a base of 4 armor. With +1, that goes up to 5. So 7 minus 5, that gives you 2 damage. With +2, though, that goes from a base of 5 armor to 6. And now all of a sudden you're doing 1 damage. That means you've lost half of your damage in that upgrade. And that's why right now, this is a pivotal moment, because if Starflark doesn't hold, if he just goes and pushes, he's going to be in a great spot. But now the age up's coming through from Calp. Just when we thought the timing was perfect for Calp on the aggressive, Starflark is looking to push out, and he doesn't hold any punches. He's moving out. I really want to see Corp just lay down the palings. We haven't seen him do it yet this game. He's been up against cavalry the whole time. But right now is your Sparta moment. This is Sparta. Your 300 men need to hold. They spot out the enemy coming through. We enter into the cinematic mode as the Longbows look to try and defend themselves against the Knights. The +2's in. He's going to fall back towards the King's Palace. It's almost up. It's almost complete, but the Knights look to charge in. The +2 damage is going to make all the... or +2 armor is going to make all the difference here. And you can see the Longbows having such a hard time barely scratching the surface of these heavily armored units. And I tell you what, that's a perfect timing attack right there. He's not going to let +2 get through. He's not going to let veterancy come through. I can guarantee you that's veterancy coming through right now on this. No, it's crossbows. He's going into crossbows instead of the veterancy upgrade. Veterancy would give him an extra... it would triple his damage output in this situation against these units. It gives an extra 2 damage. Not going to be the case, so he doesn't look for it. He manages to try and squeeze these Longbows in between the houses together with the town center. Now you can see why this base building is so important. He's got such a nice little concave in here. Town centers somehow managed to hold on, and we see... how is he holding this? How is he holding this? This is not legal. He should not be holding this right now. There is no possible way. Into crossbows as well. And once the crossbow numbers are out, you're in real trouble, because the crossbows are going to be able to effectively deal with all of those Lancers. Now you need to go back into Horsemen. You can see how much damage those crossbows are doing as well. Like, when they hit, it's a dead unit. Really, really nice defense from both of these players. It's been... oh god. I just saw the villager difference. So remember earlier how I said, as long as Starflark just makes units, he won't lose the game because he's scaling. This is that scaling. This is the scaling I was talking about. He's on 2 TCs, right? He's been making double vills this whole time. And now we reach the point where it's like, remember those scaling that we were talking about? Well, it's paid off. We've now reached that point where it has paid off. I've got lots of vills. I have a huge amount of vills. I have a 40 villager lead over you. Things are not looking good right now for you, Corp. That is for sure. Because it doesn't matter how many effective fights you take. What matters is if you don't have the resources to keep producing units, you're going to lose. Nice little counter walls coming in from Starflark. Just wants to prevent expansion out towards the east side. Not a whole lot of resources out here. In fact, where are the large golds? I only see 1 large gold up towards the north. Has the second large gold not spawned? It happens quite often on this map where you don't get a second large gold that spawns. It surely hasn't been, like, gathered out or something like that. Maybe it's hiding somewhere. That's a small gold. Yeah, Altai's a bit weird. I tell you what, the map scripting... I tell you, I'm really an advocate for stationary maps or for static maps. Knight's coming forward. Still not a single still not a single spearman at this point in time. And Kaup running for dear life. Gets the network of Citadel's bonus. Tries to hold on. No palings, no veterancy on the longbows. You can see just how well he's playing this. Starflark trying to get through onto those crossbows. Having a little bit of trouble there with the micro. And the unit numbers are really starting to fall now drastically. There's way too many cavalry units here. And Corp taps out. It's good game. What a defense. What a hold from Starflark. Fellas, I hope you've enjoyed this casted game. If you have, make sure you go check out Kaup. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Kaup, Corp, Big K-Dog. Anything you want to throw at him, I'm sure he'll take it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.